start. We'll give it another minute. Let people
Okay.
join in. Hope everyone's that's joined in so far is doing well. Throw a comment or emoji in the chat. Make sure that you guys can hear us okay. I would trust Jose's judgment usually, but feel free to chime in. And for those of you that might be joining in new or have participated in our previous webinars, again, appreciate you coming back. And if you weren't on last week's webinar, I'm going to post a link for the full video. We talked about Ascension Health recently was dealing with some ransomware stuff, and we sort of covered that topic. And for those that are interested in looking into it, please check out this video. Jess, I see that you made it.
Nice.
I'm going to send you a promotion.
Wi-Fi is hit or miss right now. Hey, that's the kind of day we're having.
That's all right. If it makes you feel better, Jess, Jose is using his guest laptop because he was having an internet issue too. I just sent you a promotion invitation, Jess. Shelly said university Wi-Fi is not much better.
Now, I am going to say this. As much as we complain about Wi-Fi, I do remember the times when we used to have, come on, little man, run. Come on,
Right.
little man, run. I can't make a phone call if I'm trying to get on the internet. Come on, little man, run. Everybody had those CDs of AOL online for free.
Right.
Oh, man. I don't know how we got anything done. I don't.
I know, I'm
Like,
having
when I look
flashbacks
back,
of I went to a community college my first 2 years, and I remember I had just a crap laptop. The internet was always bad. I'd have to go to the library there to get a good reception.
I don't know how anything got done. I
I know.
really don't. Like, I mean, it is wild now. How much data and everything.
I had a cell phone in the bag. I'll tell you what, if I really am having issues connecting to the internet, I do use my hotspot on my phone, and that does work.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That is a part of Ray's contingency plan.
Great, man. My contingency plan was even set up to where I was going to use the Wi-Fi to hit the cell phone, and the cell phone was going to hotspot to see if the laptop would connect, and it still wouldn't even connect.
Jeez.
Half the time, it wasn't even registering any network. So I think it's a hardware issue.
That's just wild. That's how it goes, Jose.
2 years old. 2 years old, like almost to the day.
That is insane.
This is why I don't spend much money on devices, because they crap out in 2 years.
No, it's so true now. Like I just replaced my laptop. I had it for I think 3 years, and I would say it was getting slower. And my argument is they don't make them to last either. My
No,
screen
yeah.
was coming apart. Like it's a scam.
The laptop looks great. It works fast. It's like I'm having no issues in that respect. It's just
Right.
today, this afternoon. It's just having a siesta, I guess.
I hear you.
So,
Well, let's go
just
ahead and get it going. I don't have a trivia question for you guys today, but I did want to try, I think I might have run one poll since we started doing these webinars back in October. I want to try this out. So bear with me. Let's see if it works. So I'm going to run this poll, Jose, and the question is, do you currently utilize Stericycle service for your medical waste management and compliance needs? So there's going to be some choices in there. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. Hopefully it works.
Yep.
Go ahead and put your answers in. I think I filled at least if it's not applicable to your organization, I think that is an option in there.
How do you click it, Ray?
Is it not clickable? You should just be able to select the answer itself. Is there like a checkbox or anything next to it, or what if you just select the answer?
I'm clicking all over the place, but apparently
well, I'm getting some responses, Jose. So
yeah, so
maybe it's because you're a co-host, perhaps. I'm not
Maybe
sure.
that may be what it is.
Let's get some help from the chat. Shelly, if you were able to answer this, was there like a button or a checkbox that you could click? Anyone? Click the circle. Are you getting a circle there, Jose?
No circle.
Huh.
I'm just getting the question with the answers, the QR code, the end poll. I think
My
it's
my guess is you might just it might be because you're a panelist, so it's just
yeah.
it's recognizing you as a user. So
Ooh,
all
Ray, we
good.
have a nice mix. You couldn't have
Yeah, we
planned
do.
it.
We got a nice, yeah, very nice mix here. So no, good to know. And now we're very excited about this topic. And for those, or let me go ahead and share a screen. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. Appreciate you guys participating in that. And let's go ahead and share screen. Jose, let me know if you can see chat. Just throw an emoji in there when you can see screen. Sorry, it might take a
Yep,
second.
there we go.
Awesome. So, everyone, welcome to today's webinar. And my name is Ray Walters. I am with EPICompliance, and I will be your host for today's session. I'm also joined by my co-host, Jose Jr. For those of you that are joining
Hey
new,
guys.
Jose has over 20 years of experience in healthcare consulting and currently owns a mental telehealth clinic in St. Augustine, Florida.
Yep.
And this is a rather different topic that we've covered. We've recently interviewed one of our partners who does shredding services. And this particular topic that we're discussing today is the recent acquisition of Stericycle. For those that don't know, that's I would argue at this point probably the largest med waste company here in the U.S. Jose,
Yeah, probably. I mean,
or very close to it.
yeah, I'm off the top of my head, I'm not coming up with another brand.
They were recently acquired by Waste Management, and we wanted to just talk about how that affects the industry as a whole, and in particular, smaller medical waste company businesses and the challenges that they might have to overcome as well. And I do have a special guest. She is joining us today. Her name is Jess Dyck. She is the clinical operator for another partner of our Sterile-A-Way. I'll put their website here in chat. But long story short, she was actually the one that informed me. And this acquisition happened, I believe, somewhere around June 3rd, earlier this month. And she actually was the first one to inform me of that. So I wanted to sort of get her on here and have her sort of weigh in on that situation. She works for a smaller medical waste company. And Jess, can you hear us okay?
You got yourself muted, Jess. There we go.
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Hey,
Yeah.
Jess, I got you now. How are you?
Doing great. How about you guys?
I'm trying to stay out of trouble, but it knows where I am most of the time, you know?
Keyword.
Jose's having internet issues too. It's all good.
I keep my fingers crossed for this. I don't know what happens after lunchtime, but it starts getting spotty in our area. So we'll see how
Yeah.
it goes.
Tell the chat, Jess, what do you do for Sterile-A-Way, and where, obviously where you guys are located?
So we are actually a local company in the upstate of South Carolina, mostly in the Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson area, but also um, going into like North Carolina. We cover Georgia and little parts of Tennessee, but we kind of pride ourselves on being the local entities here. We've got a lot of really good, larger local setups that we really focus on, and we just, take it one day at a time. But for me, so I essentially am the general manager for our company. I can handle all of our compliance,
Mhm.
routeware, software, keeping up with manifest. There's a lot of specifics that go into it for state and federal DOTs. Here we use South Carolina DHEC to keep us all up to date that we do our guidelines by. So it's a lot of check marks. I had a handy dandy highlighter as my best friend for many years starting this.
No,
Oh,
Jess, I appreciate that. And I was doing a little more research in the med waste industry. It's very highly regulated from what I've
oh,
seen, state, federal, all the above. And I appreciate you. Well, obviously, the recent acquisition of Stericycle to Waste Management. I was wondering if you could weigh in perhaps on, how will that affect you guys in the longer scheme of things?
I'm kind of hoping it's going to benefit us. I mean, I feel
Mhm.
like sometimes, there are some companies that get a little too big for their britches, and the smaller, well, they consider smaller, but for us, they're a good normal generator on a weekly basis.
Sure.
When you get to a national level with things, I'm curious to see how it's going to change. I know we've got a lot of customers that are not too keen on waste management that they've dealt with in the past. And, waste management has a lot of competitors too. You've got Republic, Waste
Mhm.
Connection, Plain Harbor. So, everybody's fighting to be that top dog out there. And I think with the whole deal with waste management is, they're trying to keep their shareholders happy, and they have to continue to grow as they can. And the medical waste industry was just kind of their next setup. But I
Sure.
think what a lot of people don't realize is, along with Stericycle, Stericycle, owns Shred-it. So not only are Waste Management acquiring the medical waste, but they're also acquiring the shredding portion of this as well.
Did not
So
know that.
yeah,
Did not
so
know that.
yeah, Stericycle bought out Shred-it years back. I think it was like for 2 point something billion dollars. And so with this being bought out with the shredding and the medical waste, I think that's why you see that super high, 7.2
Was
billion.
7.2 billion. Yeah. Wow.
Um, but I'm kind of curious to see what happens with some other ones, because I don't know if y'all have ever heard of Curtis Bay before. Curtis Bay is one that's more known in like the Baltimore
Mm-mm.
area. They were a medical waste setup, and they got fined a big hefty fine. I think last year, beginning of this year, for like a 1.75 million. So they've actually been bought out by another company called Sharps Compliant,
Do
and
you
that was
happen to
a
have any insight on the reasoning for that fine or that
I
lawsuit?
I do. I
Yeah.
do. So it was actually overloading so everything that Curtis Bay does is through their
Hmm.
incinerator.
Okay.
And it actually came out that through their management was instructing them to basically overload the incinerator with more than it should have been, and everything wasn't being disposed of properly. And I
Wow.
think when they went to, I mean, because by the time medical waste, your basic medical waste goes through all the sterilization and heating process, I mean, it does go to the landfill once it's been processed correctly. And I think that they were coming along with larger portions than should have through an incineration process of it. I think that's
So
how they got
So,
caught.
so let's take a quick step back on this, Jess. I am a complete moron when it comes to this subsection of the industry. Just because honestly, there isn't much consulting needed on that end, and I don't have much experience on running something like this. All I would know as someone who's been in operations is I need to get rid of this stuff that I don't want to touch, and I have to talk to somebody specific about it, because if I'm caught putting it in the regular trash, there's going to be problems. So how can you do like a quick how does that stuff actually get to the landfill the long way around, I guess?
Yeah. So with this, and keep in mind, so we're technically just we're a transport company. So we don't have our own treatment facility. We partner with a treatment facility where we take everything. So there's a couple
Got
of different ways to dispose of medical waste. You have a rotoclave, which essentially you put the medical waste into, and it spins it, heats it up, sterilizes it. And then ours, we take an extra step with ours, and we shred everything at the end. So that way, just in case you've got, a vial in there with the customer or patient information on, that's completely destroyed.
mm,
There's another technique called an autoclave, which everything goes into this large container, and it's almost like it's like a huge oven. It just essentially melts everything down, sterilizes it to the certain temperature, and then it's disposed of to the landfill that way. And then there's full incineration. So those are your three that you can do with the medical waste. But as far as picking up, I mean, of course, I don't open the containers. I don't want to know what's in there. So
Of
everything,
course.
there's, and don't get me wrong, there's some pretty raunchy smells that come from some of this stuff because
I-
you have to keep in
yeah.
mind
Can only imagine.
what all medical waste is composed of. I mean, sure, of course, the leading things are your sharps. And those are placed into sharps containers that are puncture resistant before they even go into our containers. But then you also have anything that has blood, urine, feces. If it has touched anything considered biohazard, it goes into that container. So we actually take a step further. Most companies utilize a cardboard box to place things into, and it has to have a red biohazard bag in it. We actually use reusable containers. So it's less that's going into the landfill with the cardboard. And so with our reusables, it's a thicker material than what you put your sharps into. And so it's almost like another secure setup for not only, you know, the customer having it at their location, there's not going to be any punctures through it, but also us as transporting it, it's just another layer of security for us not having anything come through if there is something sharp in there that's not disposed of properly. Because, you know, broken glass also can go.
Yeah.
Of course.
So with that, so we have the biohazard bag, they fill it up, they tie the bag in their proper way, which there is a very specific way to do that through DHEC or state and federal setups. And so the
Wait, I
customer,
can't just loop, swoop, and pull, Jess?
well, it's not the bunny ears that we have to go by here. It's actually almost like a gooseneck. Like you have to,
Gooseneck.
it's a one knot. That's the only thing I can think of putting it is a gooseneck.
It's funny. I didn't even know that. Didn't even know that it was down to a T, you know, in terms of tying the bag off and all the above. And obviously, you said earlier there's a weight thing as well involved. You know, you can't. It sounded like the company you mentioned earlier, Jess, was coming with too much weight, so they were essentially trying to cut a corner. Sounds like.
Yes. So there's weight regulations set that's per containers. There's weights set to how much you can dispose of through the treatment sites at each time that you go through it. But when it comes to the medical waste, it's just back to the previous. It is one of those that we don't touch anything. Everything is done before we get to it. So we are essentially just transporting from one place to the treatment facility. And then once you get to the treatment facility, they just pop open the lids and dump it into another container that dumps it into the treatment. So it's very much hands-free from touching what's in there.
Gotcha.
I tell you what, when you open those lids to some of them, you smell.
No. Just we don't have a waste problem because anything that needs to be done in our mental health clinic, the lab can do. Just go straight to the lab. I don't want any samples in the office. It's just we're not doing it. It doesn't make any sense for us to. You know, I don't want the cost of the waste. I don't want the liability. I don't want to smell it.
I was gonna say, I think I worked for a weight loss clinic temporarily, and I mean the only thing that we did there was just B12 injection. So, and that just went into the container. Obviously I never put my nose in it, but I don't think there's other, obviously other stuff, going on, but
about the biopsies that people do,
I can only imagine all that stuff.
Dermatologists, I imagine, are a great client for you, Jess.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a couple of things here or there that I didn't realize went into waste until you really dive into it. And when it comes to medical waste, unless you go through that 100-something page that I had to read to come up with everything and, get our compliance up to date with how it had to go, you don't really know about it until you have to dive into it. I mean, of course, you just hear, oh yeah, we're just going to go pick up your medical waste. It's not that simple. There's very tedious things that have to be done. And the crazy thing is that it actually changes from state to state. Some states are more specific, certain rules and, guidelines have to go through. South Carolina is actually one of those that holds themselves to a lot higher standards. Like if I go into North Carolina, it's not as high standards that the disposal has to come out of.
Careful, don't say that now. They might change that. North Carolina's changing quite a few things nowadays, right? So
It kind of
So
makes me wonder, who screwed something up in South Carolina to make it that much more tedious.
that's that's always my entertaining way of looking at a regulation, because if there's a law for it, it's because somebody did something they weren't supposed to do. They're like, okay, I guess we can't use the rule of we're gonna have common sense here. Let's itemize this out correctly. So yeah, I mean this normally I see on the provider side, especially when I start seeing the hospitals consolidate, one of the things I see is the providers pay goes up, or the benefits get better because they're a larger organization. That monopolization of the free market a little bit kind of kicks us in the teeth as a smaller entity. Is that, I guess that's not really something you need to worry about because you're more of a chauffeur, right? You're more of transpo, so that wouldn't affect you as much, and you don't have specialized equipment, right?
Correct.
So you're just throwing everything in the back of the truck and just kind of going to wherever it is that you guys dispose, or wherever your oven is, right?
Yes. Well, and everything that we tried in keeping everything local to South Carolina. So our treatment facility that we work with, it's actually one that we're looking at moving forward in the future and becoming our own treatment facility. But we've been in business for a little over
A
maybe
little over how long, Jess, was that? We just
3 years.
Just
lost.
going just a little in and out. Not sure if it's your
That's hard.
connection.
That's all right.
Is that better?
A little bit.
Tell you the Wi-Fi here is a hit or miss
There we
sometimes.
go. We
There you
got you
go.
now.
I got
We got you now. We got you
Okay.
now.
But no, we really just pride ourselves on keeping everything local. So our treatment facility is only 20 minutes from our warehouse.
Okay.
So they handle all the permits and everything on their side for their stuff. And of course, there's going to be talks in the future about becoming one larger setup, so it's not separate companies. And
Yep. Vertical integration.
exactly. And so of course that comes with we have a local company we use as well too for all of our hazardous stuff, because medical waste has the biohazard, which is the
Yep.
more simplified setup. And then, of course, there's the hazardous waste, which is a whole different ball field.
Yes. It's extremely different. But when you're a smaller company like you guys are, or I guess not smaller, but regional company like you guys are, I'm guessing that you're going to have a different price based on location of a client, right? Like, so if it's same size client in your backyard in South Carolina, it's going to be different than some places in Georgia or North Carolina because of would it be a price fluctuation because of the location issue where they drive everything to your partner here in South Carolina, or would it be something more based on the regulations of the state or jurisdiction that the practice finds themselves?
So there would be a small price set up with it. We've already got a few customers in those locations, and so it's really just about building that up and making it a better route for us. So we didn't start going into those other states until we actually had a decent amount to make it worth our while.
Absolutely.
As far as our customers cannot bring their medical to be transported and
Just kind of going in and out again.
oh, how about
Well,
now?
it's weird.
Yep.
I can hear
Hey,
you, but it's
now.
like it's kind of muffled. But yeah, I hear it. We got you now. We got you now.
But our customers are not actually legally allowed to bring the medical waste to us because there has to be decals all over the vehicles. You have to have DO setups and everything like that. So it's actually us picking it up from them at their physical locations.
Gotcha. Okay. So how far, just so that way anybody that sees this either now or later on down the road, how far out in that Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia area are you going to? You going like as far south as Atlanta? Or I
We
guess
do.
southwest to you, right?
Yeah, Atlanta is only about 2 hours from us, so that's not too much of a hop, skip, and a jump away. So Atlanta, Tennessee, we have an on-call customer that's over there. That majority of their bases are here in South Carolina, so that's really like a once every 6 months. But we
Oh.
did have to get permitted for that state in order to go into it.
We already spent the money on it.
Makes
Tennessee,
sense.
here we go.
Here we
Yeah,
come.
exactly. But a lot of the customers that we have here is only because the surrounding states, well, of course, North Carolina. North Carolina is only 45 minutes from where we are here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so it's not that bad. We've got a good little setup going on, more so in the Asheville area. That's pretty close. And then anywhere in South Carolina, we've got a few customers along the coastline in like the Myrtle Beach, Charleston area. And then we go, like I said, Atlanta, really not too far past Atlanta in the Georgia.
Okay. All right.
I have a
So
question for you, or go ahead,
Go for
Jose.
it.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, we're here in North Florida. If we were looking for some services like yours, are you the kind of company that has other regional players that you guys kick stuff back and forth to, or is it something more that we just put in any of our search engines that we enjoy, whether it's Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever the case may be, waste management, and we just go and find it, or hazardous bio waste, whatever the case may be. How would somebody go about finding something more local if we didn't want to go that national route?
Yeah, I would definitely say that if you know somebody in the field, it's best to ask them, because we go to medical conferences. We do meet other companies like ourselves that are in different areas. And so that's a plus. If we can help push that local setup along to anybody else. I mean, we're a local company. We love local businesses. But if anything else, I mean, you can search through your website, but a lot of what you're going to find, if you do through a Google search or something like that, you're going to find your national companies that pop up.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Stericycle and Sharps. And so, I mean, I would definitely say if you're looking for a local entity and you know somebody within the field, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Okay. So anybody watching this could reach out to you guys by checking out your website or anything like that, and you guys can kick them to the proper regional player that you guys know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So, Ray, you said you
I
had a
put your
question?
website, Jess, in the chat just a little early. I'll do it again. What we'll look to do as well, we'll send out your contact information post webinar so that our attendees have that if they need to get in touch with you.
Oh yeah.
Ray, what question did you have though?
Yeah, so you kind of harped on it earlier when you were talking about regional versus sort of the larger players in the industry like Stericycle, right? How can smaller players sort of effectively differentiate themselves in the market as compared to somebody like Stericycle, who you mentioned earlier, Jess, like I said, didn't realize that they bought the med waste, but they also do the shredding side, right? So they are sort of glomming on a multitude of services. So how can small players sort of keep up with that trend?
So I would honestly, networking has been one of my best entities here, just doing local stuff. Also, honestly, keep showing up. A lot of what we still have to do is cold calls. A lot of people don't know how to look for those local entities. And so you never know when somebody's going to start having problems with one of their current setups. And so, it is one of those, don't get to the point where, you're nagging somebody, but, just keep showing up, ask for who you need to speak with or how you can help, or, even just that follow-up email. It's like, hey, I know we talked, 6 months ago, just wanted to check back in. Would love to talk with you, see how we can help. But I know one of our biggest setups is the cost effectiveness on our side. Our customers are right in our backyard. It's not something
Sure.
that they have to wait a week from now, 2 weeks from now when there's a truck in the area. So really harping on that we are local. And when they see our faces and see those emails, it just kind of puts us back in that light from.
So
funny.
Is there a subsection of the industry that you would say, because I mean, everybody knows about, waste and bio waste and all that fun stuff. And I know that a lot of the healthcare industry looks at it as a cost of doing business, right? So, but are there subspecialties that don't really use your services that could benefit? You know what I mean? Like,
Somewhat, okay, one I never thought about was schools. I never thought that schools would be a customer for us, but when you think
oh, yeah,
That
the
makes
nurses.
sense.
but also keep in mind, so we started our sister company that's been going for almost 20 years now is a document shredding company. So we already have a great customer bases that are, the two owners have built up
Mhm.
for quite some time. And so it's been really good them already knowing how our customer service works and how we uphold ourselves as far as, our employees go and how we run things, that it's easy to transition from our shredding into the medical waste for it.
Hmm.
So that's how we actually got started as Sterile-A-Way, is because we had some of our customers saying, hey, you should really check this out. If this national company can do it, maybe y'all can do it on a smaller level. And that's how we started looking into it. We had customers that started reaching out and they're just like, we're tired of the national setups. We're tired of being left behind or not thought about because we are not a large generator. And so that honestly helped us, is already having those dermatologies, the schools, the labs that we do shredding for and storage. And now it just kind of helps, roll into the medical waste part of it.
Interesting. So it's really more of a, when you go someplace, it's more of a pitch on why us, not why this service, which is nice because it's just the one barrier rather than the double barrier of this is why you need this service, but this is also why us.
I had something to add. You mentioned Jess, cost effectiveness, and I couldn't help. I found this article. I put it in chat just a second ago. It was back in 2017. Stericycle, they got a class action lawsuit because they were essentially overcharging their customers essentially without their consent. I guess their whatever contract that they signed, the price just kept going up and up and up, and
Wow.
eventually they got called out for it. So I'm curious if that's like industry standard, where you're a med waste company, you lock your client into those types of contracts, or is there different ways to go about it, or I thought it was interesting, and a lot of our customers are healthcare organizations, and I hear mixed feelings about the Stericycle. Some good, I'd say more over bad than the others, more
Well,
bad reviews,
no,
but
exactly what you're touching base on has definitely been helping for us, because I mean we actually put in our contracts with our customers. We don't put them in a 5-year contract. We let our services speak for themselves. I mean, majority of what we do, a year, 2 year, what they're comfortable with, just to make sure that we keep that regular service going. And also, we have in our contracts that our pricing is set for what we set you as. It's never going to increase as long as you're a customer with ours. I have seen some customers contracts with other entities, and it actually does have a clause in there saying that these national companies can increase for whatever they want. So
They
that
tie
they've
it to inflation, they tie it to gas prices, they tie it to weight, they tie it to all kinds of stuff.
it's probably in very small fine print on
Uh-huh.
the 50-page document that they send over to you. And yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, like I said, this article, I just found it. I haven't really read through the entire thing. It was back in November 2017, but yeah, pretty crazy lawsuit. And I've heard feedback from that. These customers have been locked in these contracts. They can't get out of it, and their price has gone up, and they're not happy. Is the bottom line, you know.
Well, and another one that actually comes along with yours, Raise, is I've heard a lot of customers talk about how they're getting charged automatically for compliance training through Stericycle, and they're not even receiving the compliance through
I was waiting on you to bring that up.
them.
Um,
What
no, yeah.
compliance services does Stericycle offer? I assume just waste.
From Jess, you might be able to weigh in better than myself, but as far as I know, and this is just from talking to customers that utilize Stericycle, they have some sort of OSHA component. Not so
Yeah.
much sure about the HIPAA side of things, but they provide basic training on OSHA. They do policies, procedures, but a lot of it, from what I've gathered, is just related to medical waste. which is
Yeah.
really just a subsection of OSHA. There's
Yeah.
much more than that, you know, and there's like a strong, just
It's
this
the
tendency, you know, they think, you know, I'm doing this training through Stericycle, you know, I'm OSHA compliant, but it's not always the case. You know what I mean? So, Jess, I don't know.
more product training than actual training.
Exactly.
Don't
I
put the
think
needles in the bags. Keep the needles in the containers.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think one of the biggest things where I like with our side of the company is that each person through EPI has their own login, they get their own certificate. Whereas what I've heard from my customers we've ever taken from the Stericycle point, that it's essentially a training and the customer prints off their own piece of paper and says these people went through the training, which I'm not sure how much that really holds up if there was ever an audit that comes with it.
Mhm.
So,
Jose,
but
you might know.
So I mean, the
Probably not.
problem is if you get an OSHA audit, right? And in my experience, if OSHA's coming through, it's more because of an issue that's popped up rather than OSHA walking around doing random audits. However, it isn't unheard of that they'll do it. And when they have come through, if you've got your stuff in a row, they won't bother. It'll be in, out, you're out the door, or you're everything's good to go. But if they find something, they're gonna be a tick and just be there every year, right up your case, trying to figure out, what's going on there. So it's rather interesting. I wonder if they've looked at the curriculum, because I know, Ray, you've had a couple emails with some clients during audits and the auditors specifically asking for, hey, what are the topics that are covered, just to make sure that everything is
Right.
covered, not just a product specific or
Well, the
vendor
interesting
specific.
thing about the Stericycle, I don't know what those, obviously it's a single certificate. It might have all the users that participated, whatnot, but I'm wondering if it lists out the actual topics that are covered. You know, our certificates, and again, with our OSHA training, it's very generalized. It's for all healthcare, you know, needle sticks, bloodborne pathogens, the med waste, etc.
Yep.
And our certificates, as Jess mentioned, it's more self-guided, self-paced. Each user has a log into their profile in our system, and they can log in at their convenience, or if they were directed by their compliance officer, hey, you got to complete this in this window of time. But it's like I said, it's very self-paced, self-guided, and each user gets a certificate with their first, last name issued, and it does list out all the topics that were covered. And from what I found, you know, from our customers that have been inspected, it definitely holds a little more weight. And ultimately, when you're trying to gather all your employees to do the training at once, I just don't see, especially a larger organization, how do you make that happen? You know, people are going to be on vacation, or you know,
Yeah. Yeah. New people versus fired people
you're
or
never going to
separate.
round everybody up at once.
Yeah.
And like I said, a solution like EPICompliance where you can take it at your leisure, it's a little more simpler to manage. And as far as the compliance officer is concerned, it's all in front of them. You know, they can go in and see if Susie has done the training or not, et cetera. And it's really good for new hires. You know, and that's another thing. If you're doing all the trainings at once and then you get a brand new group of new hires, how do you do it? You know, so.
Yeah,
Uh,
Shelly, I'm seeing what you got here, what you wrote here, and you're absolutely right. Like that, I like to call that whenever it's product specific or service specific, it's I don't call it like actual training on the regulations. It's more on how do I use this product so I don't hurt myself or cause higher liability for my vendor. So I mean, ADP's got one for in regards to payroll, but that doesn't cover nearly as much as it needs to for everything. And I choose ADP because that's the one I always hear about, that where you have the Nazi compliance officer.
I think Shelly would like our system.
Shelly,
Throw it out there.
it's not that you're a Nazi. It's that you probably look good in an orange shirt, but not an orange jumpsuit. That's all. And that's perfectly fine, and there always has to be that one person, right? And it sounds like Jess is that one person at her office, because if she actually read through the whole 100 pages, then I'm surprised, because most people don't read
Listen,
anything other than the first the first paragraph and last paragraph, right, Jess?
Shelly's in the she's in the top percentile because most of the customers I talk with, nobody wants to bear the compliance officer name. They don't want to put their name on
It does require a special person.
it. It
It does
really
require a
does.
special person. But
And
no, so go ahead, Jess.
I will contest to what Shelley's saying here. That's actually a step that we do ourselves in asking who can sign the manifest, because not, the clerk up front more than likely is not going to have that OSHA bloodborne pathogen setup that, the back of the house requires. So
Yep.
it is something that is one thing we ask before we even acquire a signature if our normal person's not there. Because
Yeah.
and then not only does that help cover, our butts, but also covers our customers in the long run. So I feel like it's just an extra setup that's an added bonus with our customers with us.
CYA is huge now with how litigious everybody is and how fundraising our governments seem to be, at both state and federal. So no, hey, this has been definitely eye-opening. I didn't know that there was that much to it, honestly. And I mean, I didn't even think about, the schools and I mean, shoot, probably daycares even, right?
Um,
Come up with all kinds of bio waste over there if they still got diapers running around.
It's a lot of snot noses, but I don't think the snot nose rags really go too much into the hazard. But a lot of times, if there's also a thing that if you're a small generator, technically you can dispose of it yourself. There's ways to do it. So we do have some smaller ones that do handle that on their own.
Huh. A small generator. Like now you've got me intrigued, Jess. Is this something that part of my hurricane prep can now be part of my waste management?
I mean, as long as it's 49 pounds and less, I mean, you're considered a small and that's in a month's time. If you generate 49 pounds or less, you are considered a small generator, and you can dispose of it yourself through certain kits or
Interesting.
even, yeah.
I did not
Shoot,
know that.
I see you learn something new every day, right? It's not a waste.
Is that federal or does that depend on the state in terms of the weight? Is that
I think that's South Carolina. I think that's South.
gotcha? God, I feel like Florida is less. I don't, and the reason why I say that when I work for the weight loss clinic, and ironically, we use Stericycle, so. But I remember when they picked up each month, it was like it had to be less than 25 pounds or something. I don't know. I'm gonna look into it just because I'm curious.
Well, now the weight may be attributed to the price, Ray,
Well, that's it.
more
Maybe
than the
that's what it is.
regulation.
Maybe that's what it is.
Some companies will do it based off of how much the container weighs. We do it cost per container. You put whatever you want in this. This is how much it costs per container. But you have to
Gotcha.
stay underneath a certain weight for that container size. But
Man, this sounds like flying. If your bag does not fit in this thing, it's getting checked. Give me my $25. Give me my
You're
50
done.
bucks.
You're done.
just fill up another container and we'll
No, it'll fit, Jess. It'll fit. Just relax. All right. Just
And
give
that's
me
when
5
the
minutes.
provider
I'll
starts
get it
cutting
in
corners. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. I feel bad for your drivers if they have clients like me that I would just do it just to mess with them just to see, what they would say.
Oh, well, I'm telling you, if y'all just want some good reading material, just go to South Carolina DHEC, and there's about 100 and something pages on there.
You're going in and out again, Jess.
Now,
But I
Jess,
hear
this
you.
is good material for what? Falling asleep or for laughing? Is this the no-no list or is this the regulations?
This is regulations.
Oh, okay. So if I can't fall asleep, got it.
This is the do's and the don'ts.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So
Well,
everybody in South Carolina,
I'll be sure to have a
sleeping.
drink before I take a look at that.
Yeah. No, that's funny. That's some good stuff though. That's some good stuff. So Jess, I mean, is there something in the industry that you think is going to be new and emerging? Like, because there's always something in these subsections that I always like to see, like look around the corner, not just immediately 10 feet in front of us, right? Like it's driving a car. Is there anything like that in your subsection of the industry?
Not currently. I know there are some new ways of disposal that are coming about, some that we've checked into, but they haven't quite made it to the States yet. And it's how to dispose of the waste in a more energy efficient way with as little remnants as possible. So there's some stuff going on right now. It's essentially similar to a incinerator, except it turns around and generates enough power to run the entire warehouse that it contains. So
Gotcha. So sustainable.
exactly. So I think that's something that's going to start slowly moving this way. The only problem is here in the state, a lot of the federal regulations are not allowing incinerator type stuff going on anymore. Incinerators are pretty much are done. Unless you already have an incinerator, you are not getting a permit.
They're getting grandfathered. Got it.
And I'm basically, because that was something that we started looking into as becoming our own, because incineration has the least amount coming out at the end versus the rotoclave and autoclave. And so that's with us being a green company on our shredding side, we try to, recycle as much as possible and have as little go into the landfill. But with medical waste, it's kind of, touch and go right now with it.
So let me ask a stupid question. Mortuaries. A lot of them have incinerators attached to them because, cremation is a thing now. Wouldn't that be an option as well?
You would think, and we actually have some shredding customers as mortuaries, and they hit on a complete different setup than we do. So they can dispose of the bodies in that way, but not medical waste. So they can't. I mean,
is it like a licensing thing, or just completely different type of incinerator?
I mean, Ray, I guess it's a different kind of fire.
Yeah.
And another one you don't think about are how they incinerate, animals. So a vet clinic can sit here and give, animal remains to their incinerator, but not their medical waste. It's two completely different fields because of what's being disposed of. I haven't dug into the details of what like a mortuary has to do as far as disposing of everything, but yes, essentially it is exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Because I imagine the temps have to be similar, all that stuff it's just time based at that point, right? What are we incinerating here?
But it'd be way too easy if you made it all at once.
Yeah, every practice just has their own incinerator.
Damn common sense again.
As possible.
Yeah, damn common sense again, rearing its ugly head. I apologize, guys.
Jess would be working for us at that point.
Well, shoot, Jess. I mean, this has been. Seriously, I've learned a lot from you today in this 45 minutes. So, I mean, how can everybody get a hold of you? Do you guys have socials for your marketing as well, or is it just the website and the phone number?
Just the website for now. I believe my email might be attached to that, but
I'll put your email in the chat, Jess. No worries.
Okay, great. Yeah, and then my contact information as well. That's probably fine. As far as other states outside of South Carolina, like I said, we do have a couple of states we've got some connections with. If that's something we can help out, more than happy to. If not, I can definitely look at a few in your area and tell you, the yays and nays by looking at some website that would be a little bit more specific if you're looking for a good local entity.
Yeah, I mean, I always look at it as I want 3. As a consultant, I always like to give 3 and 3 vendors when somebody asks me a question about it, so that way they can pick. I don't want you picking the only one I give you, because if there's a problem, it blows up in my face. I'm gonna give you 3 if I can, so that way you pick and I'll work with whoever.
There you go. Yeah, that's fair.
That's
fair. One thing I'll end on, Jess, you've been with us for how long now? A couple years?
Yeah, a little over 2.
That's certainly a benefit of being a smaller player, is, partnering with organizations that essentially provide more value to your customers, and ultimately it might drive to close a deal as well. Like I mentioned earlier, Stericycle, they do the OSHA, they have a compliance component, but does it truly cover everything that you need, or is it really just, again, just med waste related? And we do it all, OSHA, HIPAA, Medicare, and partnering with organizations, I think will set the smaller player apart as well in an industry like yours.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
So, Ray, what do we have coming up next week?
Well, let's open up. If anybody has any questions real quick, we'll just take the next 30 seconds to address. I do have an anonymous question here. What resources are available to help medical waste companies navigate the changing compliance landscape?
I have an answer, but it's not one that most people are going to like. Have a healthcare attorney.
Always.
If you don't have a healthcare attorney and you're in the healthcare industry, you need to have a relationship with them, even if it's on an ad hoc basis. Having one of those it's the easiest way to stay in the loop, because they'll find something that the legislation passes or legislation changes. Like you can't have an oven that will incinerate people but not waste. Or apparently vice versa, right, Jess? So, but if something like that changes, a lawyer's always going to have his paralegal send out the notification to all of the clients. So that's one that I always like to, for that, I would say. I mean, Jess, do you have any tips or tricks that you've got?
I will say, if you find out kind of who handles the medical waste in your state, sometimes it's EPA, sometimes it's like here we have DHEC, whatever it's called specifically in your state. I think there actually might be something you can sign up for just to kind of get
Like
some
a newsletter?
newsletters. Yeah. So if there ever is anything, and I think you can do it a little bit more specific to the
Type of waste or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, no, I think I think that clears it up. Hopefully that answered this person's question. I don't see any other questions rolling through. So next week we are going to be talking with Dr. Delgado again. For those of you that might have been on the webinar last month, we did have Dr. Delgado, who is the CEO of EPICompliance, and he sort of just we did an introduction, introduced them to the webinar. This time we're going to be talking about MIPS audit attestation. So he's going to be weighing in on that. Looking forward to it. I am going to put the Eventbrite in here. I'm not asking you guys to register, but if you guys just want to read up on the event, you guys will be receiving correspondence with a new registration link tomorrow. But just so you guys have that in your back pocket, or if you want to share it with somebody, please do. But now we're looking forward to that discussion. Somebody chime in one more question, or was I just seeing something?
Let me see. I just see the one.
No, it might have been the emojis that were coming through.
Yeah.
But well, Jess, I appreciate your time, and I'm glad that the internet held intact for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I hope it wasn't too,
No, I learned a lot.
I mean, I did not think it was going to be as entertaining as it was. I'm going to be honest.
like I said, unless you're in the field or you are one that actually produces biohazard and you understand kind of what it is and what it comes from. I mean, I didn't know biohazard before I got into this thing. Are you kidding me? I mean, who goes and just about that for fun?
Wait, that's not what you wanted to do since kindergarten,
Man, I tell you.
I say the same thing about compliance until the practice I worked for got inspected, and then I was intrigued at that point. So otherwise, I never would have guessed I would have been working in compliance. So yeah, we all have a similar like you, Jose. How'd you get in healthcare consulting? Was that a life dream of yours?
No, it's the family business.
Yeah.
Dr. Delgado started it
Delgado.
when he got out of the Air Force, and then I pretty much grew up in it. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it was something to where I just kind of cut my teeth in early and often. And so, I mean, I got to spend time with him, make a little bit of money while I was in high school and college and all that fun stuff. And I found that I was pretty good at certain things, like finding the loopholes, right? So that's why I was asking about the mortuary thing, because they won't let you build any new incinerators. Screw it, mortuary goes out of business. I'm buying that oven.
We're definitely keeping our eyes out. We're waiting. We're waiting for. Wait, I know there's some stuff in Atlanta right now where they're about to start splitting DHEC up into a couple of different new entities. Because right now they're saying in South Carolina, DHEC just has a little too much that they're trying to handle all at once. So they're going to start breaking that up. So I'm curious to see the different things that come along with it. You know, hey,
God, I wish they would do that with ACA here in Florida.
what it's called in Florida. Okay.
No. ACA is the Medicaid. Basically, it's the Medicaid department for Florida. They just do all kinds. They do way too much, and they do it all wrong. So
The next time you talk to me, I might be, Sterile-A-Way / body removal. I mean,
Jess, you sound like somebody's gonna be working with Dexter. All right, you need to relax here. She'll be working. She's gonna have John Wick on speed dial. Gotta handle some business. But
talk about the differentiating yourself from the larger players. There we go.
It's an untapped market, Jess. I'm sure.
It's a world of possibilities.
Perfect.
Well, hey, everyone, I appreciate everyone's participation. We had some great engagement today. Look forward to seeing everybody on next week's session. As I mentioned, there will be a registration link going out tomorrow. So just be on the lookout for that. And obviously, we did record this session. Usually, it's about a 48-hour turnaround before we get this video up. So just stay tuned. But in the meantime, if you guys want to check out some earlier episodes, I did put our YouTube channel there in the link. Please feel free to subscribe. And like I said, we've been doing these webinars since October of last year. We got quite a few topics that we've discussed thus far, so it's only going to keep growing. If you guys have any other topics that you would like us to discuss, feel free to send us a message or chime in the chat. We're always looking for, well, new things to discuss.
Yep. I think I've got one for that week you're playing hooky, but I gotta follow up with somebody.
Oh, you want to do a webinar while I'm out of town?
I mean, why skip a week?
Yeah, no.
Just because you ain't gonna be here doesn't mean we don't do it.
I am going to be out of town second week of July, the second Tuesday of July. So I was planning on not hosting anything, but if Jose, sounds like you just volunteered, so we'll keep the train going.
Yep.
While I'm out. So awesome. Well, Jose, Jess, appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon. Thank you, everybody else, for joining today. Thank you, Shelly.
Guys.
Thanks. Y'all take care.
You as well.